I never thought I would find a stranger in my own home, yet one Thursday morning, I opened the door to my study and saw a man lying there. At first, I thought it might be my friend Stephen. He had stayed over the night before, and in my half-awake state, that was my first guess. But a closer look showed me that this was someone I had never seen before. He was unresponsive. I felt my body freeze. I could not scream or run. Instead, I stood still, staring at this unfamiliar face, unable to make sense of what lay before me. My mind felt like it was in slow motion. After what seemed like forever, I called for an ambulance. Paramedics arrived quickly without using their sirens. They confirmed that there was nothing they could do. Local police soon came to investigate. There was no sign of forced entry. The stranger had used my shotgun, which he took from its locked case. However, there was no damage to the lock. Tests showed that the cause of death was most likely an accident. My own whereabouts at the time were confirmed by 3 respected people in the community, so I was cleared of wrongdoing. I should have felt relieved. But I noticed something odd afterward. Cars with tinted windows sometimes parked on my street, watching my house. Perhaps the police still suspected me of something. Or maybe it was just my nerves. There was one thing I kept secret. On the man's chest was a long letter addressed to me by name, held there by a small staple. For months, I told nobody about it. The contents of that letter were so disturbing, so personal, that I did not want anyone else to read them. Even so, I kept going back to it, reading it again and again, struggling to understand how a stranger could write such things about me. In his letter, the stranger began by explaining his childhood. He wrote that he left home at a very young age, with only a few dollars. He found work in a quarry, breaking rocks, and earning very little money. It was grueling work, surrounded by older, tougher laborers who did not care about his comfort or safety. He mentioned one event at the quarry, though he did not go into great detail in the pages I kept. He suggested that he had a confrontation with someone there in a fit of anger. After that, he decided he was meant for greater things than that hard, dirty labor. He left, never looking back. I tried to see if the police could find any record of what he described. If someone disappeared from that quarry, it may have been written off as a workplace incident. Nothing concrete turned up, so we will likely never know the full story. Still, it shows that from a young age, this man believed that force or conflict was a way to change his circumstances. He moved from one industrial job to another, always feeling bored or out of place. Then he saw a hiring notice from my old company, Salt Railways, which was quite large at the time. I was a manager there and eventually an owner, though I left about 13 years ago. In his letter, the stranger said that when he first saw me, I somehow represented everything he wanted in life. He admired my clothing, my manner of walking, and the way I spoke to people. His letter claimed that over months of working at my rail company, he secretly observed my every move from a distance. He watched which tie I wore on Tuesdays when I arrived and left the building, and even how my shoes sounded on the floor. I only recall seeing any such employee. If I ever did notice him in the rail yard, I have no memory of it, but he described how he saved most of his money, slept near the train cars at night, and took the toughest shifts, all to stay near the business I ran. He described a moment when he dressed in a simple suit and tried to speak with me in my office, claiming to be interested in a property deal. He wrote that he was so nervous he could not say a single word, and I supposedly closed the door after asking, "Can I help you?" Even now, I can't recall that specific day. But to him, that meeting was enormously important. He felt rejected and decided he needed a more direct way to become part of my world. After a while, I left the railway business and sold my shares. I took an interest in art and began to buy and sell pieces. According to the letter, this surprised and upset him. He knew how to observe me in an industrial setting, but art was outside his experience, so he focused instead on my personal life, my home, my habits, and the spaces I occupied. He wrote about how he spent almost a year planning a secret living area in my house. He watched my daily schedule until he knew exactly when I left and returned. He sneaked in and found a spot in my library behind 2 tall bookshelves. He carved out a hidden space with small holes that allowed him to see into the room. He claimed he had already learned how to pick locks in his youth, so entering my home undetected was not difficult for him. For that entire year, I remained unaware. From this hiding place, he watched me read, work, and spend my quiet evenings. He ate food from my kitchen when I was gone, used my bathroom, and quietly explored the house whenever it was safe. It unsettles me to think back on all the times I felt a slight chill or noticed something out of place. I would usually shrug it off, telling myself I was imagining things. Meanwhile, he was inside my walls, studying every part of my life. The stranger's feelings intensified when I adopted a dog named Maggie. She was a large, friendly animal who brought me comfort during a stressful time. In his distorted mind, the stranger felt like he was already my loyal companion, even though I did not know he existed. He believed Maggie was taking the attention he felt he deserved. He wrote that he felt jealous of how much I cared for Maggie. Sometimes he was kind to her. Other times, he felt frustrated when she took up what he saw as my affection. His emotions grew out of control. Eventually, he confessed in the letter that he had harmed her in some way. He did not include too many details, but it was clear that he did something extreme to make her leave my life. In reality, I never knew what happened to Maggie at the time. She was older and not in the best health, and one day she just vanished. I assumed she might have wandered off. I felt sad, but life was busy, and I did not investigate deeply. I regret that now, knowing the truth I later discovered in the letter. The final part of his letter said he no longer knew how to be noticed. After years of secretly living near me, watching, admiring, and even interfering with things I cared about, I still had no idea he existed. So he planned something unforgettable. He used something from my own home and arranged a scene in my study, which he described as his last masterpiece. I discovered him on a Thursday morning, completely shocked and unable to process what I was seeing. Authorities arrived and confirmed he had acted alone and that no one else had been involved. But I knew more than what the report said. Before the police arrived, I found and quietly kept the letter he had written, meant only for me. In the months that followed, strange things continued. I would sometimes spot dark vehicles parked outside my home, making me wonder if someone was still observing. My friends told me to take a break, but rest was impossible after what had happened. I felt conflicted. His actions were disturbing, but there was also something deeply sad about his story. He craved connection, yet never found a healthy way to reach out. There are 2 lessons I learned from all of this. First, if something in your home ever feels slightly off, even just a door left open or an object moved, trust your instincts. What seems small might be something more. Second, his letter revealed how isolation can twist a person's mind. He had no support, no community, and no tools to cope. That does not excuse his choices, but it's a reminder that loneliness can become a very dark place. Because he saw his final act as a piece of art, I made an unusual decision. With special permission, a local museum agreed to display a private exhibit, one that told his story in a respectful, educational way. It included part of his letter, carefully edited to remove distressing content. I know not everyone will understand this. Some may think it's too strange, but I didn't want his story to vanish like he never existed. For better or worse, he wanted to be seen. I still live in the same house. And even now, late at night, I sometimes hear faint sounds or remember the hidden space behind my shelves. It's a quiet discomfort that may never go away. My library feels different now, even though I repaired the section of the wall where he once hid. Sometimes at night, I imagine faint noises or picture the old holes behind my books. It is a discomfort that I doubt will ever fully go away. There are times when I even feel a strange sadness for the man who wrote that letter. I do not forgive his actions, and I certainly do not approve of the harm he caused. But in reading his words, I saw a person who had never known a healthy way to be loved or accepted. He hurt others because he did not know how to fit into society, and that fact is tragic. While nobody is responsible for another person's extreme acts, I do think it is worth remembering how far isolation and despair can push someone. Maybe if he had found genuine help or friendship, his life would have been different. That is all I have left to say. If you ever feel a slight chill in your home or see an item moved from where you left it, maybe you will remember my story. It is unlikely anyone else is actually hiding in your walls, but if you sense something is wrong, do not ignore that feeling. I hope you understand that I wanted to share it as carefully as possible without adding any needless details that might disturb or upset you. If you found it unsettling, that is understandable. Not every story ends in a neat, comforting way. If you found this story meaningful or eye-opening, please share your thoughts. Stay vigilant, reach out to someone who might need a friend, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more real stories like these.